Hey coin collectors, and welcome to DC Coin World International Coin Channel. And today we have a really interesting case, and that is the 1968 D quarter. And of course the D quarter comes from Denver. That's what the D is for. And if we look at these quarters, we see that some have what looks like a D on them. Some have what looks like a P on them, and some have nothing on them. Well, that's a little bit deceiving because in 1968, of course, the Philadelphia Mint didn't put the P on their coins. So that's not a P. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but it's not a P. That is a D, and that is a D too. All these three Ds look quite different. And so why or how or what could possibly make a 1968 quarter worth $8,000 or $9,000? And that's really the interesting question here. And the easy explanation is that when they grade coins, they grade them according to how much of the coin you can see. So the big grading firm is called PCGS, and they grade coins, and you look at Washington, you see how much of his hair and his eyelids and all this other stuff, and then you flip it over and you see how much of the eagle's feathers you can see and the bindings on this sheaf of arrows. And so PCGS has a number of gradings that they do for coins that are circulated. And I should say that again. The 1968 D that was sold about 5 years ago for $8,800, $8,812, was what was called an MS68. And Mint State 68 means that the coin actually looks almost in a way better than when it was first made. And so it doesn't have the scratches, it doesn't have the dings on it. It just looks really good, and it has a really good stamp on it. It was stamped really well. So an MS68 is the highest possible degree of validation for coins from the coin services. And the MS68, according to PCGS, they have about 6 or so known, 6 ever. So the 1968 D, there are only 6 in that kind of condition. What does that mean? Well, it means that there aren't many, and some people only collect the Mint State 68s. And so if we're talking about those people, they really have to have one. So what happens if you only got 6 of them and somebody wants to put the MS68 from 1968 in their collection? Well, they got to pay a lot of money. Now, is it, hugely valuable? No, but it's more for the people who want the MS68 versions. Now, so when we look at these, we see that these are pretty used, right? This is, of course, a couple years after they switched over. In 1965, they switched over from silver quarters to the copper nickel clad copper quarters. And this is the third year that they made them. They made them in 1960. The fourth year they made them, and they made them in 1965, 1966, 1967, and 1968. They weigh 5.67 grams, and you can actually weigh them if you're not sure that it's whether it's silver or not. Some people say, "Oh, we can find a 1968 that's silver." You can't. There is rumors of a 1968 silver, but I haven't seen a picture of it ever. That would weigh 6.25 grams. So if you think you've got a silver one, weigh it, and if it weighs 6.25 grams, you do. And if you think you've got a silver one and weigh it, and it weighs 5.6 grams, then it is the copper nickel clad. And plus, almost every single copper nickel clad that I've ever seen, you can see the copper on the sides. So with all of these, you're not gonna. This one looks better than the other ones, doesn't it? This is in much better condition, certainly on the rim. And then this one here, this one. So this may be, for a little while, but then as soon as you look closely, you'll see the copper on the inside. And this one too, you see the copper actually, it's bubbled up towards the edge. Sometimes you get a real cool version of this where the copper's actually on the back. The cladding failed. But That's not this one, but it is pretty close, isn't it? All right. So, how many did they make? That's what everybody wants to know. How many did they make, and how much is this one worth that I have in my pocket? Well, one of the things you need to look at on these coins, if it's the 68, it's going to have 119 of these reeds on it. It's a John Flanagan design. John Flanagan designed it in 1932, and it's carried over both sides of this coin all the way up into the 1990s. So how many did they make of the 1968D? They made 101 million. So this coin here, they made 101 million of these. So they're all over the place. This is not going to be very valuable. Now if I kick it up, you can actually see it's not even round anymore. It's so dented. These coins, because they're used in machines and everything else, this one has a chip out of it. But people say, well, it's 52, 53 years old. It's got to be worth something. It is. It's worth a quarter. It's worth 25 cents. That's all that this coin is worth, unless you find an error coin, of which there are a few, or unless you find the one that's in perfect condition. But if you find the one that's in perfect condition, it looks like it's never been touched by anybody, it's probably not going to come out of a cash register, and you'll know it immediately because it won't look like any quarter you've ever seen come from unless you've got new from the bank. So the 68D, they made 101 million. The 68 Philadelphia without the mint mark, let's see if we can find that one. That's a D. We know we've got one here, right? Because we just saw 3 of them. That's another D. Yeah, the Philadelphia, no mint mark. In Philly in 1968, they made 221 million, 220.7 million. They also made some with an S mint mark, the San Francisco Mint. In 1968, they made 3 million of those, and those are worth a couple dollars each. All right, so these coins are only worth a quarter. What's the big deal? I've kind of already given you the information. What I want to do is actually look at the mint mark, the D mint marks, and talk to you a little bit about them also. This is a good D mint mark. You see that? You maximize it. You can see that's clearly a D. Some people might say, well, it looks a little bit like an O, but it's certainly not a P. This one is a kind of a chopped one. This is post-mint damage. It occurred after it was minted. That one's a D2, but it kind of got filled a little bit. Sometimes we call these the filled Ds. So this would be like a regular D. This is a filled D. And then this one here, we've seen a few of these, and people say, I've got the P. But when you look at this, you realize this is a wicked filled D, but it also has these weird shapes to it. It almost looks like a square or some kind of design there. Like they put a square, a 3-dimensional square on top of it. It's not. It's just that the D got kind of crushed up. And that's post-mint damage. That is not an error coin in any way. What does a coin look like? What do they all look like? Well, they all say Liberty at the top, George Washington facing left, and God We Trust under his chin in the 1968. We have the 119 reeds, and then when you get to the back, it says United States of America, E pluribus unum here, eagle facing to the left. He's holding a sheaf of arrows, and these arrows actually have ribbons on them, so in a really good condition one, you can see the ribbons. There's a tail underneath the arrows, and then this is an olive branch. So this is the military might of the eagle and the olive branch, or the peace symbol, the international kind of peace symbol, the olive branch. And then down here it says $quarter. So that's what we have. We have D's, we have P's, and none of these are worth more than a quarter, but it's sure kind of cool to go to your change from the store or get it out of a machine and find a 1968. All right, have a great day from DC Coin World International Coin Channel. We'd love to have you subscribe to our channel and leave any comments you have in the comments section.